A young girl, filled with confusion, questions why she was brought into this world if her father doesn't love her. She expresses her inability to comprehend this reality. It becomes evident that she is speaking to her father, pleading with him to wait for her. However, he coldly instructs her to stay away. The girl, overwhelmed by a sense of worthlessness, shares that no one has ever seen anything good in her. She reveals that she has been met with nothing but disgust and hatred, being labeled a monster by everyone around her. As she is consumed by these feelings of revulsion and animosity, three men begin to chase after her, proclaiming that her blood holds the cure they desperately seek. Their sole focus is capturing her, regardless of whether she lives or dies, as they believe she is not truly human. While running, the girl stumbles over a rock and falls to the ground. In that moment, she realizes that the only person who has ever truly loved her is her mother. On her knees, clutching her mother's dress, the girl tearfully confides in her mother, expressing her profound sadness. Because she was despised by everyone, including her own father, the girl claimed that her mother was the only one who loved and understood her. However, in the girl's perspective, she believed that she had caused her mother's death. She vividly remembered the moment when she had asked her mother for a hug, only to be told that it would be better if she had been born human. This statement shattered her, causing her to collapse to the ground. Little did she know, it was all just a dream, albeit one filled with haunting memories. As the girl found herself outside the city, she stood beside a chest filled with jewelry. Yola, our heroine, opened her eyes and couldn't help but question whether it was all just a figment of her imagination. Meredith, our beautiful protagonist with enchanting eyes and a captivating appearance, had been on a month-long journey. The girl felt a surge of happiness as she realized that she was nearing her destination, the city. Meredith had sealed away her memories, but her sole purpose remained intact: to reach the city and become human. With a mischievous grin, the girl reached out for the jewelry, convincing herself that the more she took, the better it would be for her. The young woman was lost in her own thoughts, completely oblivious to her surroundings. However, at a certain moment, she looked up in astonishment and exclaimed that the sound she heard was what had awakened her. As she glanced around, she noticed a man engaged in a fierce battle with monstrous creatures. Concerned for his safety, she wondered who had decided to send a knight into such a perilous territory. Upon closer inspection, she couldn't help but find the scene oddly appetizing, but quickly dismissed the thought, reminding herself that people should never be treated as food. The girl continued to observe the man's valiant fight against the dragons, but soon realized that he was in grave danger when one of the monsters nearly took his life. Filled with fear, she realized that if she didn't intervene, the man would surely perish. Witnessing the dragon preparing to strike, the man expressed his deep sense of foreboding and began to scream. Desperately hoping that someone would come to his rescue, Meredith gazed at her surroundings, contemplating the use of her magic to confront the menacing creatures. With a flick of her wrist, the protagonist sprouted wings, marveling at their presence. However, she couldn't fathom how she had forgotten about them. As the girl pondered, she realized that after her fifth use of magic, she ceased to be fully human. Sitting sadly beside the unconscious man, she acknowledged that her magic may have caused his demise. Yet, her sorrow was short-lived as she nonchalantly declared her intention to bury him on the spot, hoping he would blossom into a tree come spring. The main character appeared peculiar, as if everything in life was effortless and carefree, oblivious to the gravity of death. Meredith's gaze lingered on the man, finding him strangely enticing. Lost in admiration, she failed to notice his eyes flutter open, leaving the man perplexed about her identity. Meredith began hurling clumps of earth at the guy, catching him off guard as he abruptly rose from his seat. He started coughing uncontrollably, his appearance so grimy that it seemed like he had been dirtied to the point of death. The guy desperately tried to protect his uniform from any further stains, not even wanting a speck of monster blood to touch it. And yet, here was a girl carelessly throwing earth at him. With a mixture of surprise and amusement, the girl gazed at him and inquired if he was still alive. The guy responded arrogantly, assuring her that he was indeed alive, and demanded to know who she was and what she was doing in the territory of the monsters. The girl's eyes sparkled with joy as she introduced herself as Meredith, Explaining that he was the first person she had encountered, the boy listened attentively until he caught sight of her wings. In a state of astonishment, he pushed our heroine away and questioned her identity. Realizing that she was not human, the guy glared at her with anger, but she remained kind and cheerful, informing him that she was not human but was on her way to the city to become one. The young man appeared to be taken aback by her revelation, falling into silence as he simply stared at the girl. However, the girl couldn't fathom why he was so quiet, as her intentions were pure and her journey towards humanity filled her with hope. The girl pondered whether he could possibly be anything other than stupid. Frustration consumed her as she struggled to comprehend how to communicate with such unintelligent individuals. However, to her surprise, she found herself suppressing the urge to devour the guy. Breaking the silence, our knight finally spoke and inquired if Meredith truly desired to become human. With a sense of relief, our heroine confirmed her wish. As he regained his ability to speak, the guy introduced himself as Leon, a knight. He assured the girl that he could assist her in achieving her human form, extending his hand towards her. Meanwhile, in the bustling border town of Badel, amidst the market, a vendor enticed passers-by to purchase delectable sweet potatoes. To everyone's surprise, our heroine decides to indulge in human food, only to discover that she despises its taste and promptly vomits. Displeased with her reaction, the vendor becomes indignant, vehemently denying that his food could be the cause. Lord Leon, upon finding wonder, proposes that she try to mimic human behavior. Her eyes light up with excitement as she agrees, claiming it to be an effortless task. Meanwhile, another salesman approaches Meredith, offering her the opportunity to purchase a weapon. He boasts that the shield he presents is crafted from the scales of a mythical magma monster. While he was explaining to the girl how strong the shield was, the girl managed to break it with an innocent look on her face. The salesman was left bewildered, wondering how the girl could break such a sturdy shield. However, our heroine remained unfazed and continued running, leaving Lon struggling to catch up with her. By this point, Lon was already exhausted and tired from chasing after the girl. Meanwhile, the girl swiftly approached another woman and took one of her medicines, much to the woman's indignation. The guy finally managed to grab the girl from behind, successfully catching her. As they fell to the ground together, their eyes locked, and the guy couldn't help but blush a little, feeling shy. At that moment, he realized that she wasn't intentionally avoiding him, but rather running at an incredible speed. The girl looked at him, extending a helping hand and remarking on how fragile human beings seemed. She asked if he was okay, leaving the guy feeling embarrassed and awkward. He warned her that she might get into trouble, but the people around them couldn't help but burst into laughter, claiming it was Leon. One man, named Warren Howard, who was known as the Lord of the Border City, joined in the laughter and jokingly asked if it wasn't Mr. Leon, claiming he was about to die from laughing so hard. Mr. Leon couldn't help but chuckle as he inquired why Baron Howard was so infatuated with a stunning woman. However, his amusement quickly turned to disdain as he expressed his disapproval of the nobleman's behavior. Little did he know, the girl overheard his remarks and swiftly approached him, snatching his hat from his head. To her surprise, she discovered a hidden gem within it, capturing her attention. Just as she removed the hat, Baron Howard's wig tumbled down, causing uproarious laughter from the surrounding crowd. The situation became even more comical as the truth was revealed. It was none other than Baron Howard himself. Fuming with anger, he insulted the girl, threatening her life. But before he could strike her, Leon intervened, apologizing on her behalf. Strangely, the man's expression remained unchanged. In a moment of affection, Meredith embraced Leon, commenting on his pleasant scent. However, her gesture was met with disgust as he recoiled, urging her to let go of the filthy hat. He made it clear that he would have to rectify the mess she had caused. Observing this exchange, the other nobles became curious about the girl's identity. Leon simply described her as a cheerful and spirited individual, oblivious to their inquiries as he scooped her up in his arms, knowing that if he didn't, she would surely wreak havoc. Lord Howard was tasked with uncovering her origins, as Leon insisted on knowing if she hailed from their local community or not. However, the man responded that if such a beautiful girl lived in the city, he would already be aware of her existence. Leon instructed them to inform him once they had the answer to his question. The Lord asked the young man where he should go, and the young man respectfully replied that if he was kind enough to offer him hospitality, he would stay with him. However, his demeanor suddenly changed and he erupted, stating that if it weren't for Leon being sent from the imperial capital, he would have never accepted him. Meanwhile, Leon carried the girl in his arms, and Meredith expressed her love for being hugged. However, the guy completely ignored her and instructed her not to flap her wings, claiming that he couldn't see anything. Eventually, they arrived at the Howard mansion, where the servants warmly welcomed them, exclaiming, "Welcome home," to Leon. The servants were taken aback by the sight of the girl's wings and questioned Leon about their authenticity. Leon assured them that they were not real, much to the girl's dismay. She insisted that her wings were genuine. However, the guy deliberately dismissed her claims, knowing full well that they were real but not wanting to reveal the truth to the servants, who wouldn't understand. Leon instructed the servants to take care of Meredith while he went to change his clothes. The guy had already made his way into the bathroom, ready to indulge in a relaxing bath. He had hoped that this troublemaker would be properly taken care of, so he undressed and prepared to unwind in his bathtub. However, his plans were abruptly disrupted when the girl burst into the bathroom. Leon was taken aback and simultaneously infuriated by her intrusion. He demanded to know what she was doing in his bathroom, but the girl simply inquired when he would teach her how to behave like a civilized person. The guy yelled at her, pointing out that he was in the middle of taking a bath. Yet, it seemed that the girl paid no attention to his words and continued to act like a child. The guy believed he was on his own, but the girl showed no signs of leaving. She approached him closely and asked once again when he would teach her. Leon questioned why she was still there, but the girl remained silent. Frustrated, the guy asked if she had no sense of shame whatsoever. However, it became apparent that the girl didn't even understand the concept. He began to explain to Meredith that it was unacceptable for someone to barge into a bathroom while another person was using it. Yet, the girl simply agreed without him comprehending her intentions. He questioned why she didn't leave if she understood, but the girl remained oblivious to his words. Meredith, with a puzzled expression, questioned Leon about why she should turn away. In response, Leon explained that she needed to turn away because he needed to change his clothes again. Confused, Meredith asked him why she had to turn away when he changed clothes. The guy then proceeded to explain that it had to be done that way because men and women are different. Still resembling a curious child, Meredith persistently asked him why. Annoyed, the guy silenced her by placing his hand over her mouth and simply stated that all she needed to know was that showering and changing clothes was everyone's business. He found her to be quite a handful. Meredith, not one to back down, assured Leon that she would remember to take a bath and change clothes alone. She looked at him with a playful smile and held his hand. It was clear that she had a childlike innocence about her. Attempting to guide her out of his room, the guy told her that more people sleep at night and she should go to bed. He promised to teach her something the next day. Meanwhile, Lord was investigating and mentioned that he had compared the girl to portraits of other missing girls, but none of them resembled her. Curious, Leon asked Lord if he had checked other disappearances besides these girls. Lord assures the man that he has thoroughly investigated everything and there are no coincidences. However, the man still fails to comprehend where the girl came from. It turns out that an increasing number of girls have been disappearing recently. A distraught woman cries, unable to fathom how her daughter could vanish. It is revealed that these missing girls are from the city of Bodel, which is located near the Forest of Demons. Occasionally, small demons sneak into the city. A witness claims to have seen them with his own eyes, suggesting that one of them may be responsible for the kidnappings. However, the townspeople never suspected that the culprit could be a demon. As strange rumors circulate, the royal family becomes alarmed and dispatches Leon to investigate the case. It is worth noting that Meredith, who is not from this town and claims to be non-human, raises suspicion. The man speculates that she possesses peculiar wings and has a desire to consume people. Before leaving the office, Leon informs the Lord that he will take the portraits of the missing girls with him to ensure that Meredith does not resemble any of them. With a sad expression, he bids farewell to the Lord and departs. As the man enters his room, he is startled to find Meredith sitting on his bed. Filled with anger, he demands to know why she is in his room. He pondered the notion that the maids were incapable of keeping track of her. The girl cheerfully responded to the guy's inquiry, stating that she was present in his room because she caught his scent in the air. In that moment, the guy couldn't help but compare her to a puppy, as he couldn't fathom how she possessed such a keen sense of smell. Meredith's behavior seemed suspicious, and she insisted that she couldn't leave without her treasure. Leon questioned the girl about its whereabouts, and she admitted to leaving it behind in the woods. Leon handed her his sword, agreeing to lend it to her temporarily, but warned her not to damage it. However, judging by the girl's expression, it was clear that she wasn't thrilled about the arrangement. With a gaze fixed upon the guy's eyes and tears welling up, she confessed that the sword alone wouldn't suffice for her to sleep peacefully. Despite her tears, the guy remained indifferent and advised her against playing the role of a damsel in distress. However, unable to resist her, he reluctantly handed over the precious stones to appease her. The girl was overjoyed to finally possess a treasure. After this exchange, the guy informed Meredith that she could retire for the night. However, the girl glanced at him with concern and expressed her worry about the noise. The guy couldn't comprehend how it could be noisy since he couldn't hear anything. Nevertheless, the girl persisted in telling him that it was indeed very noisy. Leon, in a simple suggestion, advised Meredith to cover her ears with a pillow. The girl attempted to muffle the noise by covering her ears with pillows, but she shouted to the guy that she could still hear. Meredith mentioned overhearing a man saying he was going to eat someone, which seemed to disturb the girl. She questioned the guy if people could eat their own kind. The guy stared at her as if she were crazy, and she began to ask about something else, but before she could finish her sentence, he plugged her ears and yelled at her to stop listening. The girl cried out that she couldn't hear anything now, but the guy looked at her and asked if she really thought he would cover her ears all night, stating that he would never do that. The girl gazed at the guy, as if silently pleading for him to do it. Eventually, the guy gave in to the girl's request and lay down beside her, cautioning her that he wouldn't do it again next time. The girl closed her eyes, attempting to sleep, and suddenly she felt the warmth of Leon's hands, like those of a clinging animal. It brought her great comfort to lie there with him in that way. Meredith's eyes fluttered open, and in that instant, they locked onto each other's gaze. The boy's face turned red with embarrassment, yet there was an undeniable magnetic pull between them. Flush-cheeked, our heroine seemed to have something important to say to him, but her words trailed off. In that moment, a mischievous thought crossed the boy's mind, but before he could dwell on it, she asked him a peculiar favor, to squeeze her ears a little tighter. Leon suddenly understood what she meant. He thought she was about to kiss him. Granting her request, he playfully told her to go to sleep soon, realizing how absurd his own thoughts had become. This girl had managed to bewitch his mind. As the boy drifted off to sleep, the girl, with her eyes still slightly open, pondered how Leon was different from others. She found herself drawn to his unique scent, finding it absolutely delightful and comforting. It was already morning, and our heroine finally awoke. She couldn't understand why there was so much noise around her. Getting out of bed, she made her way to the door, only to find a servant waiting for her. Curious, she asked the servant where he had gone when she arrived. The servant informed her that Mr. Leon had left on business and asked her to wait for him. Just then, an arrogant guy appeared out of nowhere. He boldly asked the maid when such a beautiful girl had shown up at the mansion. Introducing himself as Vincent Howard, we learned that he didn't like Mr. Leon at all. Vincent approached Meredith and touched her face, trying to convey something. Unimpressed and angry, she forcefully grabbed his hand and began shouting at him. Bewildered, Vincent asked her what she was trying to do by holding his hand. Meredith realized she was famished and had almost eaten a man. But Vincent humorously suggested taking her to a nice restaurant. With a smile on his face, he made a promise to the girl that she would be fed. Suddenly, Meredith caught a whiff of something and took off running. The guy, perplexed by the girl's actions, followed her gaze and asked where she was headed. The main character ran so fast that Vincent couldn't keep up. As it turns out, the girl had spotted a monster and tried to warn him. Assuring him that it wouldn't harm him, Vincent, now terrified, realized that this monster was actually his pet. He yelled at the girl to release his pet, calling her a demon, the girl reverted back to acting like a child, insisting that this little monster was meant for Meredith. Just appeared at the doorway and questioned the girl's presence. The Lord, filled with fury, demanded an explanation for what they had done to his mansion. Leon advised Meredith to provide a reasonable explanation for the chaos unfolding before them. Meredith, like a young child, expressed her hunger to Leon. To her delight, Leon had something delicious in his bag. He opened it and introduced the girl to crystal kernels, cautioning her not to eat them. However, much to Leon's surprise, Meredith grabbed a pebble and began munching on it. He couldn't comprehend how she managed to consume it. He found it unbelievable that she had actually eaten it. As it turns out, low-level demons lack crystal nuclei, but the demons of middle and higher levels utilize them to transform their bodies. After undergoing special processing, the nucleus becomes a vital energy source. Meredith seemed to keep track of her consumption by equating it to the value of silver coins. Leon informed her that even the weakest core was worth silver coins and commended her ability to choose what to eat. Nevertheless, Leon took the opportunity to explain to Meredith that, despite her hunger, she should never do such a thing in someone else's home. He gave her an example and asked how she would feel if her own treasure was destroyed. In that moment, the girl gazed at him in horror, unable to fathom how it could be possible. However, the guy proceeded to explain to her that personal property, like a house, holds great value. The girl remained perplexed and turned to Leon, seeking guidance on what to do next. The guy advised her to apologize, and in doing so, Meredith handed Lord One an incredibly rare crystal, expressing her remorse for breaking his precious possession. As the Lord's eyes lit up upon seeing the stone, he couldn't believe that it was a black dragon crystal. In that moment, Leon pondered the rarity and value of such a crystal, wondering how the girl had come to possess it. He gently wiped something off the girl's face and asked if she realized that the crystal she had just given to the Lord was worth far more than the mansion itself. The girl, unaware of its true worth, questioned if this small stone was truly called a dragon crystal and inquired about its value. The guy confirmed that it was indeed very expensive and offered to return it to her if she changed her mind about giving it to the Lord. The girl smiled, not comprehending everything Leon had explained. She remarked that it was black and not as beautiful as the treasure Leon had brought. The girl, without hesitation, surrendered her belongings to the Lord. The guy couldn't comprehend how someone could be so foolish to dispose of such valuable items. He gazed at her tenderly and questioned her understanding of obedience towards guardians. He declared himself as her guardian, and Merit, in response, pledged her obedience to Leon. He assured her that it was the right decision and suggested that she should eat in her room and not venture out without his permission. Leon, seemingly harmless yet kind, marveled at how easily he could persuade this troublemaker. Meanwhile, Meredith calmly sat in her room, indulging in precious stones, convinced that under Leon's guidance, she would swiftly transform into a capable individual. Lost in her thoughts, she suddenly noticed a fire blazing outside her window. Curiosity tempted her to go outside, but she remembered Leon's orders to stay put and remain silent. Panic ensued among the people outside, urgently calling for water and warning others about the fire. Leon's memory suddenly jolted, realizing that Meredith was still inside the burning mansion. Without hesitation, he burst into the inferno and found Meredith there, seemingly unfazed by the chaos. Overwhelmed with relief, Leon rushed to her side. He assured her that he would get her out safely and urged her not to be afraid. However, he blamed himself for her predicament, regretting that he had convinced her to stay in the room. As Leon approached her, he noticed the ceiling crumbling above them. In a split second, a piece of debris threatened to fall directly on Meredith. In a panic, Leon shouted for her to move away. Amidst the blazing surroundings, Meredith simply gazed at him, seated on the floor. Suddenly, Leon sprinted towards her, shielding her with his own body. As he desperately tried to protect her, Leon noticed something peculiar. Meredith nonchalantly pushed away a flaming piece of ceiling with her hand. He exclaimed about her hand, but she paid no attention, urging him to leave for his own safety. She believed it was too dangerous for him to remain in such a perilous place. As they made their way out of the mansion, Meredith tugged on Leon's arm, urging him to move faster. Suddenly, Leon began coughing uncontrollably, struggling to catch his breath. Ignoring his discomfort, Meredith continued calling out his name, concerned for his well-being. Amidst the chaos, Leon managed to ask Meredith to show him her hand, perplexing her as to why he would need to see it. Confused, she questioned him about what had happened to her hand. Leon examined Meredith's hand closely and realized that it was unharmed. Just then, the demon that had haunted the house before lunged towards them, prompting the Lord's Son to intervene and prevent his child from escaping. With a swift swing of his sword, Leon vanquished the demon, leaving the onlookers in awe. Turning to the man who had brought the demon into the house, Leon calmly advised him against repeating such a mistake in the future. The Lord, consumed by anger, berated his son for disregarding his earlier warning about harboring the demon. However, the remorseful son could only apologize in response. In that moment, Leon contemplated the severe punishment that the man deserved for bringing a demon into the house. Yet, he couldn't help but acknowledge his own role in the matter, having brought Meredith into the house himself. After a short while, once they were inside the house, Leon pleaded with the girl to stop hiding under the table and come out. However, Meredith explained that she despised water and had no desire to wash. Suddenly, the girl's attention was drawn to a piece of paper on the floor and she inquired about its contents. Before Leon could respond, she had already unfolded the letter and was engrossed in reading it. The boy remembered that it was a letter he had intended to send to the queen. Witnessing the girl's discovery, he decided there was no point in concealing the whole truth any longer. He revealed that demons were akin to animals, lacking emotions and driven solely by their desire to consume. The girl began to voice her thoughts, but the boy interrupted, asserting that animals possessed feelings unlike demons. He had suggested to the queen that it would be better to eliminate the demons. However, before he could finish his sentence, the girl rushed towards him and embraced him tightly. She expressed her immense joy at Leon's embrace and asked if he felt the same happiness. Perplexed, the boy questioned why she couldn't comprehend his emotional state at that moment, considering her ability to read thoughts and emotions. In response, the girl remarked that Leon's words sounded incredibly sorrowful. Leon, wearing a melancholic expression, inquired of the girl whether she was disappointed in him. However, the girl, with a look full of emotions, questioned how she could possibly be disappointed. As she glanced at the letter, she likened it to a swarm of little ants scurrying about after his words. It was then that Leon realized she couldn't read, prompting him to explain that it was a letter, a means for people to convey their thoughts to friends who were far away. Holding the letter in her hands, the girl pondered the possibility of writing to her mother, unaware that one cannot communicate with those who have passed away. Filled with joy, Meredith began jumping up and down, expressing her desire to write a letter. Leon responded by suggesting they start teaching her. He instructed the girl to sit at the table, as he was about to teach her how to write her name. The story then shifts to the Queen's palace, where a servant informs Her Majesty that she has received a letter from Lord Leon. The Queen, taken aback, eagerly inquires about its contents. The maid relayed to her mistress that Lord Leon had sent a message stating that he had not yet found anything and required more time. Queen Im revealed that Leon could potentially inherit the title, becoming the youngest duke of the kingdom. However, the queen believed Leon's obsession with finding the dragon was hindering his potential. Blushing, the girl was then asked by the queen about the church's intentions. The servant informed the queen that the church sought to elect a new pope from the archbishops. Upon hearing this, the queen's anger flared, questioning how they dared to seize power and depose her. Turning away, she ordered her servants to send a letter to Leon, instructing him to return to the capital within days if he still hadn't found anything. The queen declared that the kingdom would face consequences if Leon failed to meet the deadline. The story then shifts to the border town of Bedell, where Meredith eagerly searches for Leon. She approaches the Lord's Son and asks if he had been truthful about waiting for her. With an evil smile, the young man confirms that he will be at the designated place soon, all the while contemplating the fact that he had hired people to monitor her movements, and declared that she had no chance of escaping anywhere. It was evident that this man had malicious intentions. As the two men waiting for the girl outside the walls were gripping swords tightly and glaring at her. Without wasting a moment, the girl began sprinting faster. Claiming that she heard a noise nearby, she informed the boy that Leon had already arrived. grabbing his hand and pulling him along. Despite his protests, the boy couldn't hear anything. The pair had found themselves amidst a bustling crowd, with the girl shouting something while others speculated that the church had sent someone for them. Curiosity filled the air as everyone wondered who would be approaching them this time. With a displeased expression, Vincent warned the girl not to look in that direction, as it led to the church. However, the girl, filled with curiosity, glanced in that direction, unaware of what a church was. Vincent explained to Meredith that the kingdom was in turmoil due to these zealous individuals obsessed with the church. As the boy and girl gazed upwards, they witnessed a heart-stopping moment. A young child slipping out of a window while their mother desperately tried to save them. The boy, overwhelmed with fear, burst into tears and expressed his terror to his mother. In that moment, he pondered his options, knowing that a fall from such a height would be fatal. Just as the baby began its descent, our courageous heroine swiftly climbed onto the carriage and caught the baby. The coachman, infuriated, shouted at the girl to get off the carriage, but she paid no attention. Her sole focus was on saving the boy. With a gentle smile, she assured the boy that he was safe and had nothing to fear. The coachman berated the girl, questioning how she dared to step on the archbishop's carriage. He warned that their actions would anger the gods and bring punishment upon them for disrespecting their messenger. Unfazed, the girl calmly explained that she had to step on the carriage to save the little boy's life. Without her intervention, he would have perished. One of the archbishops, Roland, assured everyone that the girl, Meredith, would not face any consequences for saving the boy. He believed that God would overlook any minor faults that may have occurred as a result. Meredith observed the archbishop and noticed the gleaming treasures he possessed. Curious, Archbishop Roland asked for the girl's name, to which she replied. He complimented her on her beautiful name and acknowledged her incredible act. Archbishop Roland then noticed cracks on his staff and jokingly attributed them to Meredith. However, he emphasized the importance of keeping the incident a secret to protect the girl from any potential trouble. Taking her hand, the archbishop suggested that they could be friends and offered her a cup of tea. Surprised, Meredith agreed to his proposal. Just as she agreed, Leon suddenly appeared and intervened, taking Meredith away from the archbishop's grasp. Despite this, Meredith remained joyful knowing she had saved the boy. She conveyed this information to him, to which he responded by telling her that she was an exceptional young lady and that she was amazing. As he gently stroked her hair, Leon and Meredith caught the attention of the archbishop and Lord Lyon. The two men exchanged angry glances and greeted each other with hostility. Leon questioned the archbishop about his intentions with Meredith, to which the archbishop replied that he simply wanted to be friends with her and have a conversation. With a sneer, Leon asked if she wasn't allowed to have friends other than him. Leon then turned to Meredith and told her to decide who she wanted to go with. However, the archbishop began to manipulate the girl, promising her a piece of jewelry that she admired on his cape if she chose to accompany him. The girl's eyes sparkled with excitement upon hearing this offer, and she immediately suggested to Leon that she should go and have tea with the archbishop and receive the jewelry. In response, Leon informed her that he was very busy and if she truly wanted to, she could go alone. It was evident that the girl did not want to be separated from Leon, as she tightly held his hand and informed the archbishop that they couldn't go for tea because Leon had unfinished business. The archbishop simply smiled sweetly and expressed his understanding. He then proceeded to inform Leon about his involvement in the case of the missing girls. The church was deeply concerned about the situation, but Leon reassured the archbishop that the kingdom was under the rule of the crown. He questioned whether the church had the authority to question the monarch, who had sent the archbishop there. In the midst of their argument, the girl realized that she could intervene and stop the dispute by knocking them out. However, before she could act, Lord Howard appeared and ordered everyone to disperse, stating that there was nothing to see. He forcefully removed everyone from the premises. Lord Howard then affirmed to the archbishop that Lord Leon was indeed correct, as he had been sent by the royal family to investigate the matter. The archbishop bid them farewell, reminding the girl that she could always seek his company if she felt lonely, and informed her of his presence at the cathedral on the east side. Meanwhile, Meredith seemed lost in thought, contemplating the complexity of the church and expressing her lack of understanding. She turned to Leon and asked him to explain the meaning of the church. Leon pondered the possibility that she had a deep affection for shiny objects. As he contemplated the letter sent by the queen, he couldn't help but mull over the words inscribed within. Her Majesty had commanded his return to the capital in a matter of days. However, Leon couldn't help but speculate that the queen might change her mind, considering Roland's presence. He shared this thought with the girl, who joyfully informed him that she couldn't hear anything in the room they were in. To her, it was a marvel. Leon explained that the walls were soundproof, made of dragon glass. The girl found it hard to believe that she could actually reside in such a room and questioned Leon about its authenticity. Assuring her, Leon declared that she could indeed call this place her home. Initially, the girl was overjoyed at the prospect of having a house, but her expression turned melancholic as she asked Leon the meaning of a home. Reflecting on his trust in the girl, Leon recalled moments from his childhood when he sat on a bench with a beautiful little girl. She had expressed her envy of his possession of a house and expressed her own desire for one. Leon snapped out of his reverie as Meredith embraced him tightly, expressing her fondness for the house. He couldn't quite recall what the girl looked like, but he was certain she didn't have wings, ruling out the possibility of her being Meredith. Extending a coin towards her, Leon assigned Meredith her first task as a human, to spend the money. He playfully questioned her ability to handle the job, which brought a sparkle to her eyes and filled her with joy. Grasping the coin, she confidently assured him that she would handle it in a flash. Later, Meredith found herself at the market, struggling to decide what to purchase. She couldn't believe that she was finally going to acquire her treasure, and the idea of spending money seemed daunting to her. Unbeknownst to her, Leon discreetly observed her from the shadows, realizing that she had been lingering in front of the shop for hours without making a move to buy anything. Just as he anticipated, Meredith eventually made a decision and approached the saleswoman to make a purchase. However, to her surprise, the saleswoman expressed gratitude for saving her child but regretfully informed Meredith that she couldn't sell her anything. Our heroine was taken aback when she was asked to leave the place. Meredith couldn't comprehend why she was being treated this way. The other villagers approached her, poking and questioning her conscience. They doubted that if Bishop Roland forgave her, others would follow suit. Meredith was left speechless, but then a man started shouting at her. He accused her of being the cause of recent failures, claiming that his feet had been hurting because of her. Without thinking, Meredith confidently declared that she could heal his feet in a matter of seconds. The man fell silent, only to insult her by comparing her to the useless Lord Leon from the capital. In a bold move, our heroine bit the man's finger, warning him not to speak ill of Leon. Suddenly, a monster emerged and began attacking people. Our heroine bravely tried to stop the monster, shouting for it to spare innocent lives. Leon was astonished by this sight. As the monster approached the man who had offended Meredith, he pleaded for his life. Meredith approached Leon, swiftly seizing his sword and requesting him to lend it to her. Without hesitation, she launched herself at the monstrous creature, delivering a single swift wing strike that ended its life. The crowd erupted in awe, showering our heroine with praise for her incredible feat. Leon, utterly speechless, couldn't believe his own eyes. Meanwhile, Meredith basked in her triumph, approaching Leon once again to show him the spectacle unfolding before them. She confidently declared that she possessed a profound understanding of weaponry. However, Leon's expression revealed his lack of enthusiasm. He stared at our heroine in bewilderment, confessing that the person who had attacked him in the woods the other day was none other than Meredith herself. Our heroine, now in a state of panic, desperately tried to justify her actions, insisting that she had only intended to save him and speak the truth. Lord Leon, however, was certain that he had witnessed magic during that encounter. He bluntly questioned Meredith about her true identity, pondering whether she was a demon or a dragon. Meredith, feeling a tinge of sadness, contemplated her own existence, realizing that she was undoubtedly not human. Dragons no longer roamed the world. But a smile slowly spread across her face as she came to a realization. She turned to Leon and confidently revealed that she was, in fact, a demon. After that, Leon appeared visibly relieved and pondered the fact that the demon was only a minor threat. He then proceeded to enlighten our courageous heroine about the complexities of the human world. He warned her that even if she protected them, they could still inflict harm upon her due to her unique abilities. However, our heroine confidently retorted that Leon had never caused her any harm. Just as she spoke, a man approached them, urging her to keep her magical powers a secret. At that moment, the insufferable Mr. Lyon seemed to be closing in on them. Suddenly, Bishop Roland arrived, declaring that the situation seemed to have resolved itself. He turned to Meredith and inquired if she had resolved the issue. However, Meredith vehemently denied having the capability to do such a thing, citing her lack of strength. Lon interjected into their conversation, shielding our brave protagonist with his presence. He then questioned the bishop's belief in his inability to vanquish these threats. The bishop merely smiled and assured him that he did not hold such doubts. Following this, Leon instructed someone to accompany Bishop Roland to his residence, as he believed the bishop already had enough troubles. The man then informed Meredith that she should also return home. Although she initially wanted to object, she reluctantly agreed, albeit a little later. We transition to the bishop's residence, where he engages in a conversation with someone. He expresses his pleasant surprise at the charming nature of the town. The bishop reveals that the first surprise was Leon, and a girl he had picked up. This girl informs the bishop that she had never known Leon to have such a preference before. However, the bishop explains that when he first laid eyes on this girl, the dragon's glass in his staff cracked. Interestingly, the same thing happened again when he encountered our heroine. The girl inquires if the staff is used for checking magic, to which the bishop confirms. Intrigued, the girl finds it all unbelievable. The bishop decides to keep this hidden from the church and plans to contact our heroine in a few days. As night falls, Lord Lon, our hero, rests in his room. Suddenly, our heroine enters, leaving Lon puzzled about her intentions. At one point, Meredith, the heroine, grabs Leon's leg, seemingly attempting to pull him to the floor. This surprises Lon, who becomes both startled and afraid. However, our quick-thinking heroine realizes that pulling him down could result in injury, prompting her to come up with a brilliant idea to fetch a pillow. When our protagonist returned to her room, she was taken aback to find a guy lying on the floor. She couldn't help but wonder why he had rolled off the bed. Perhaps he was pretending to be asleep, curious about what she was up to. Without much hesitation, Meredith grabbed Leon's leg and began dragging him. Along the way, the guy's head kept hitting everything in sight. Eventually, they reached a chest, and with some difficulty, Meredith managed to place him inside. She closed the chest with a smile, thinking she had successfully hidden him. However, Leon suddenly stretched his hand out, asking her to wait. This startled our heroine, making her realize that Leon was genuinely concerned if he had offended her in any way. But Meredith explained that she had only wanted to hide him in the treasure chest out of jealousy. She felt hurt that anyone else could go anywhere with Leon, except her, because she wasn't human. From Meredith's distressed expression, it was clear that she was deeply upset and jealous. Even Leon momentarily believed that jealousy was the motive behind her actions. However, he soon revealed that he thought she was doing all this because she couldn't complete a task. Meredith sat down on the floor, tears streaming down her face, confessing that it was difficult for her to spend money and she felt incapable of doing it. But to Leon, it seemed like he was mocking her, because he mentioned it was truly a valid reason to feel sad. Leon embraced Meredith and inquired if she remembered that she had saved the entire town that day. He added that if it had been anyone else, they wouldn't have been able to accomplish it. Leon gently placed our heroine on the bed, saying it was time to sleep. However, Meredith clung tightly to him, expressing her desire for more hugs. Surprised, Leon remarked that she was quite clingy. After a brief silence, Meredith looked up at Leon with her big, expressive eyes and asked if there was anything he couldn't do. Leon replied that, of course, there were things he couldn't do. He began sharing childhood memories, mentioning how it was trendy in the kingdom to grow a glowing rose. Despite his year-long efforts, it didn't succeed. Leon revealed that he had hoped to give that rose to someone special. Curious, Meredith asked if the rose actually glowed. Leon redirected the conversation, informing her that it was time for the second task. Excitedly, Meredith inquired about the nature of the task. Leon explained that the second task for our heroine would be to earn money together. It seemed that Meredith loved this idea. Finally, Leon mentioned that the invasion of demons had caused chaos, but they would assist in rebuilding the city tomorrow. Leon, as he tucked the girl into bed, explained to her that hard work deserved payment. He then promised our heroine that if they could earn money, he would grant Meredith the right to make one wish. The next morning, two men were conversing on the street. One of them asked if the girl was the one who had truly saved them, as he couldn't understand why he had heard others claim it was Lord Leon who had vanquished the demons. The other man confirmed that he had witnessed it himself and it was no falsehood. He added that everyone was saying the same thing. Meanwhile, our heroine was running down the street when she caught the attention of the same bishop. He pointed out that the bow in her hair was tied incorrectly. Meredith stopped and mentioned that Leon had tied the bow for her that morning. Questioning if it had come undone again, the memory of Leon tying her bow earlier and her complaining of a headache resurfaced in her mind. The bishop chuckled and offered to help her properly tie the bow. It appeared that our heroine was quite pleased with how her hair looked now. At the same time, Leon commented that it looked very nice, and the bishop, with a smile, acknowledged that he understood the need to keep his distance. Meredith, filled with excitement, turned to Leon and asked if he noticed how beautiful her bow looked. However, in that very moment, Leon forcefully removed the bow from our heroine's hair, much to her displeasure. Nevertheless, Leon swiftly handed her another bow adorned with sparkling stones, believing that she would prefer this one. Meredith gracefully placed the bow in her hair and expressed to Leon that it was even more splendid than a bow with a butterfly. With a smile, Leon agreed, acknowledging our heroine's impeccable taste. Suddenly, Leon turned to me, Edith, and inquired if Meredith had ever discovered a way to earn money, despite spending the entire day here. In that very moment, Meredith produced a gleaming gold coin, revealing that she had indeed found a means to earn money. Leon couldn't fathom how she had managed to do so in such a short span of time, and he too possessed a gold coin. Our heroine explained that Vincent had given her this coin, prompting Vincent himself to appear and question why she was in such a hurry. However, upon seeing Leon, it appeared that Vincent was utterly bewildered. At this point, Meredith speculated that the visitor must have had a sleepless night due to the noise. However, she quickly dismissed the thought, fearing that if she covered his ears with her hands, she might accidentally crush his head. Gremlins have the ability to regenerate even without a head, but a man without a head certainly cannot survive. However, when Vincent glanced at our protagonist and requested her to cease, did he inquire about the subject matter? It seemed that he didn't comprehend him at all. Meredith then informed Leon that Vincent had promised her more gold coins if she slept with him, but Vincent denied it. This revelation angered Leon, causing him to approach Vincent. Frightened, Vincent began to laugh and claimed that the girl was merely joking. Despite this, Leon remained furious and demanded an explanation from Vincent regarding his conversation with her. Vincent insisted it was all just a joke. In that moment, Meredith rushed over and pushed Vincent away, urging Leon to stop. Vincent complained that he was hurt and questioned why our heroine pushed him instead of stopping Leon, who was the one about to strike him. He told her that she needed to control Leon. In response, Leon touched Vincent with his sword and warned him that if Meredith hadn't intervened, he would have broken his legs. He then ordered Vincent to go and clarify everything with Meredith. Vincent seemed to listen to Leon and began explaining everything to Meredith. He asked her if she understood, emphasizing that this was not a proper way to earn money, even if it was just a joke. Meredith confidently assured him that she understood. After that, Leon commanded Vincent to leave the premises and never approach Meredith again. In a matter of seconds, Leon placed his hand on Meredith's head and suggested that she forget about the gold coin and focus on something else. Surprisingly, Meredith agreed. While they were conversing, Meredith suddenly heard a noise and exclaimed that the wall was collapsing. She urged everyone to run instead of standing still. However, nobody paid attention and asked what had happened. At that very moment, Leon ordered everyone to run, acknowledging that the girl was right. Indeed, the wall had collapsed. Afterward, Leon inquired if everyone was all right, and one man expressed his gratitude for the timely warning, as no one was injured. Leon asked our heroine how she knew about the wall collapsing, and she explained that she had heard a sound. However, a man expressed his fear that the demons would take advantage of the breach and insisted on rebuilding the wall as quickly as possible. Another man questioned what they should do now that all the walls had collapsed once again. Meredith interjected into their conversation and offered her assistance. However, no one took her seriously. The men claimed that it was a job for a man, not a girl. But in response, Meredith effortlessly lifted a large stone and asked the men where she should place it. It appeared that everyone was left speechless. She ascended to boulder on the cart, but unfortunately, the cart was completely destroyed. However, amidst the chaos, one of the men suddenly recognized her as the courageous lady who had saved his son. Leon urged her to stay and help them move the rocks. He believed that by working together, their relationships would greatly improve. The guy approached her and revealed her that he had heard everything about her. He advised her not to pay attention to those who doubted her abilities. According to him, everyone had been living in fear due to a series of dragon sightings, and some people had become neurotic as a result. She was taken aback by this revelation, as Leon had previously stated that there were no dragons left in the world. However, one of the workers explained to her that she shouldn't listen to him. Apparently, everyone was terrified because they had lost the dragon. The two men began to argue, with one claiming that dragons had been responsible for devouring many people, while others believed that the loss of the dragons had emboldened the monsters to invade their empire. Feeling overwhelmed by the situation, Marinette slammed her head against the boulder and demanded that they stop fighting. Miraculously, her plea worked, and the two men lost all energy to continue their argument. However, before leaving, the guy who had initially confronted her expressed his belief that the monsters were the ones who deserved to be destroyed. He apologized to her and warned her to be careful not to offend the gods again. As she looked up, she noticed Leon gazing down at her from atop a building. Her heart skipped a beat, and she realized that she must become human soon. She proudly showed him the copper coin she had earned and informed him that since she now possessed the coins, she could make a wish. In a hushed whisper, she revealed her desire to go to the forest alone. To her dismay, Leon responded with a dreadful look and firmly told her no. However, she explained that she promises to return soon. Curious, he inquired about her intentions. With tears welling up in her eyes, she defiantly ran away, declaring that his words meant nothing to her. But just as she was about to disappear into the distance, Leon grabbed her shoulder. He informs her that he will accompany her tomorrow, intertwining their hands as a sign of their connection. She assures him that she will only stay for a short while, to which he blushes and declares that he will wait for her at the city gate, as he can only spare half an hour. As he paces back and forth, he recalls that she had lost her treasure in the forest and might have gone to retrieve it. Despite his worries, he reminds himself of her immense power, knowing that even high-level monsters pose no threat to her. Suddenly, he spots her, but to his surprise, she holds a bouquet of roses. Initially, she had intended to give them to him as a gift, as she had ventured into the forest to gather glowing flowers for him. Leon had taught her the importance of being a good person, so this gesture surprises him. He stammers for a moment, and she asks with a worried expression if he doesn't like the roses. Blushing, he explains that he had hoped she would make a wish for herself when he granted her a wish. However, she smiles and reveals that she had indeed made a wish for herself. When Leon is happy, she is happy, and her affection for Leon is evident. Leon falls silent, gently placing his hand on her face and leaning in for a kiss. However, he stops at the last moment, realizing that his face is a little dirty and decides to clean it first. He walks away, instructing her to follow him. Strangely, Leon no longer emits a sweet scent, causing her to wonder if he is unhappy. The next morning, it appears that Leon has gone out for his morning exercise. He enters her room early, and she senses that he is more alluring than usual. He tells her to open the box on the table, revealing a gift specially made for her. She exclaims in delight, and he smiles, knowing that he has done a good job. He then removes his shirt, revealing his majestic abs. They are interrupted by a plea for help. Leon rushes to her side, but to his surprise, she struggles to put on the dress. He assists her, and as they lock eyes, their hearts race with anticipation. Ignoring his own feelings, Leon points out a mirror, suggesting that she take a look at herself, but she ignores this and kisses him passionately.